Hey, it's Mudflaps back with another loot guide video for Ulduar, this time the Antechamber of Ulduar, which will consist of the Iron Council, Kologarn, Algalon, and Auriaya. If you kill Auriaya, you get credit for defeating the Antechamber, so let's go ahead and add her into this. Now this is supposed to be the part where I shill myself and I say please like and subscribe, because when that happens, I can dedicate more time to this stuff and continue to give useful information, helpful stuff, helpful videos to anyone who would like to see it. And with that, let's get into the stuff. The first boss, we're going over the Iron Council bosses. Drape of the Lithe, I would consider Enhanced Shaman, maybe Assassination Rogue, maybe Combat Rogue, and then any Agiware after that, if they need the hit. So, generally speaking, this is perfectly itemized for those first two. It's a direct upgrade from Deadly Foe from KT. Hunters are probably going to pass on this every time they can, unless they're in a weird position. But a theme going forward in this will be that hunters are trying to avoid hit because everything they like has too much of it. And in all their setups, they're just overflowing. So, wasted stats obviously make items weaker, so go with that knowledge. Raiments of the Iron Council, Demo Lock. Unquestionably. Demo Lock first, then after that, maybe Holy Priest, Resto Druid, and any other caster who maybe isn't using tier in this for now, or won't, in whatever setup they're going for the near future, and just go with it from there. Overload Leg Wraps. So this is a direct upgrade from Wanton, from Malagos. It keeps the hit rating, which can be very helpful for the people that needed that for that exact reason. It's generally the main reason. Now, a lot of casters are using their tier in this slot, so you're going to need someone, if you use like RC Loot Council or something, people can put notes in there to help guide Loot Council's decision with, hey, this person's going to keep using this, they're going to avoid tier in this slot or for a while, or I need this for hit so I can't even wear the tier that I have, something like that. So just work around with who needs the hit. Phalia's Vestments of Sprouting Seed. So Boomkin and then Vendor Spec, or unless the Boomkin doesn't even want it, and then, but it's pretty good. It's 232, right? So that being said, it's a BOE, and yeah. Ruined Ironhide Boots. Now, whenever you see Expertise and Armor Pen on an item, that is kind of unlucky normally. Now, there is the occasion where one of these Armor Pen classes can still need the Expertise, but it's very rare, right? They don't need that much. Most of them have it in their talents built in to where it cuts the amount they need in like half. And therefore, they're trying to avoid Expertise, kind of like how I said earlier, hunters are often trying to avoid the hit because they just have so much on their gear. So this will be a rare occurrence when people are like, yes, I really, really need this because I need the Expertise and I'm an Armor Pen class. So this is most likely not going to be useful for most people unless those Expertise pieces that they do need, which they'll still need a little bit, aren't dropping for them. Then, yeah, filler. Now, similarly, if you see male items with Armor Pen and hit, we just went hunters are trying to get rid of hit. Only MM Hunter is going to use this. Enhanced, the Armor Pen is almost a completely wasted stat. It's barely useful for them. So this is probably one of those few 232 items where just no one's going to probably be able to use this. So Rune Shaper's Gloves, Ellie Shaman, and Resto Shaman. So equal prio, in my opinion. Either one could use it. Who's using tier wear, go from there. Ancient Iron Home, only Holy Pally can use it. They do eventually want tier. Steelbreaker's Embrace. Well, this is another Expertise item, plate crit item. I would personally go for Ret Paladin here. They need Expertise more, usually, in their stat weights than other plate wearers need, and crit is their most important. So that is something to consider. Now, some people are going to say the efficiency argument, Ret Paladins are doing so poorly DPS-wise, maybe you give this to one of your DKs or something. However, I would argue that now people are seeing the use of the utility of certain classes. Warriors with Commanding Shout, that the health bonus is very nice. The Sacks, Aura Masteries, and Improved Lay on Hands, in whichever spec your Ret has, they should have some of those. And the utility from there makes it worthwhile. So if you're going to bring them, you want to gear them. So consider them. Handguards of the Enclave, Prot, anything it's tank stuff, I'm not really going to go too much into detail with unless it stands out. Insurmountable Fervor. So again, this is really well itemized for Ret, but you could give it to also Unholy, who is also really well itemized for. So either one of those is good. And then after that, on Frost and Fury Warrior, it's okay for them. Unblinking Eye, I would give this to a Disc Priest, and after that, whoever you want to give to. Radiant Seal, it's a nice healer ring because it's 232. Unfortunately, there's a theme here where a lot of the healer rings, they go high in the stam and low in the int, which kind of stinks. So the Holy Pallies might be a little reluctant with some of these, but there are only so many options for upgrades. So any healer that you want to give this to is fine. Spread the love with these. Stormrune Edge, Warrior. Ret could use it, but again, Armor Pen, very, very low impact stat for them. Very, very close to completely wasted for them. So Warrior, then Ret. Rapture. So 238 staff, going to be better than any staff you came in with. So if you're a caster that's using a staff, this will be a significant upgrade. But if you're doing the one-hand, off-hand combo with 226 items, this is probably not going to be worthwhile. So it depends on how lucky you were in the phase before this one with loot. So just whoever can use it that's probably using a two-hander is going to be the way you go with that. Drape of Mortal Downfall. This is perfectly itemized for a Fire Mage. You're trying to help get them to that point. They need the hit, they need the crit, they need a lot of both. And so I would prio them. And then you've got your Shadow Priests and Boomkins, who are I would both put up in there as potential. For instance, if your guild, maybe your Boomkins or Shadow Priests are your all-stars, then maybe you give it to them first, and that's fine. All three of them will really, really like this. So, Warlocks have other things. So, Shoulder Pads of the Intruder. These are awesome for both leather wearers. They're actually really good for Ret too, but I would say Assassination gets the most out of this. They need a lot of expertise, more so than your Ferals in combats, obviously. And unless they've been getting too many items, then you can share the love how you need to. But I would go Assassination first, then your other leather wearers, then maybe your Ret Paladin. Greaves of Swift Vengeance. Now, this is what I'm talking about with Hunter hit situation. This is a massive item for Hunters and Enhanced Shamans, but Hunters they're very narrowed with what stats they can use here. And so this is really good. Lots of crit and AP. They get sockets. They can put more agi in there. It's really nice. Then they just have to accept the hit and build around it. I would probably go with Hunter first and then Enhance second on this, unless, again, in your guild it's different. If your Enhance is your all-star and your Hunters aren't, you go however you want. Or maybe it's the other way where they're getting a lot of loot, the other one isn't. Share the love how you need. And then Belt of Colossal Rage. This is huge for most of the plate. Actually, it's huge for all the plate wearers, but technically, like, warriors can go for a leather piece in 10 man and stuff like that. But huge for all of them. I would not prio one class over the other. I would use this as a which of them has gotten more loot recently to help keep the power levels of some of these classes up. So if your Frosty K's have been not getting their stuff to drop, give it to them. Unholy, if they haven't been getting, go for them. You know, any way you want to go with it. Sapphire, Amulet of Renewal, Demo Lock. And then after Demo Lock, possibly a Resto Druid, possibly a Holy Priest, and possibly a Mage. Decide where it needs to go for you guys based on the same variables that we're talking about. Where are you lacking? Are you lacking on healing? Are you lacking on damage for burn phases? Usually, highest impact is damage to help you. It'll help your healers more. We've talked about this in past videos, but at some point, if your DPS is getting lots of stuff and your healers aren't getting anything, then the impact will be larger on a healer if they have received nothing and you're falling behind on heals in general. So, Fang of Oblivion, this is the third best dagger for assassination. Their best one off Freya, second best one off Thorn 10 man, and then there's this. So, unfortunately, this is the coolest looking dagger, but Bis looks doesn't mean Bis ability. So, unfortunately, if you get Combatant's Blute Blade or Blade Twister, this is just going to be wasted. So, well, if you're getting both of those other ones. So, currently it's because of the weapon speed of the dagger that hurts it. If it were 1.4, it would be the best dagger in the game. But that is not where it stands at the moment. And on to Kologarn, Robes of the Umbral Brute. So, great caster chest. It's if you're trying to avoid hit situation, great. But again, this is a tier slot for many people, so they're probably not going to go for it unless this is going to be their off piece for a while, and it could change for your guild based on what's dropping and where you are in hard modes. It's going to take a long time for many guilds to get through all these hard modes. As far as I saw the other night in Warcraft Log's stats, Algalon and Yogg and stuff, it's like 1%, less than 1% of guilds have done them. So again, when you see like streamers talking about some of this Algalon loot, like it's going to drop tomorrow for you, highly unlikely. Based on the statistics, 99% of people aren't seeing any of that loot right now, so we'll get to it eventually. So, Robes of the Umbral Brute. The other thing that's kind of interesting about this piece is Ellie Shaman, Resto Shaman, and Holy Paladin could all use this. It's actually really well statted for them. Now, if a caster really, really needs it, you should go with the cloth for them first, because that's the only option they have. But if they don't, consider those other options. Consider those mail and plate wearers that this is perfectly itemized for. Bracers of Unleashed Magic. Kind of a sleeper item. These bracers are really, really good if you need the hit. So if you're coming in with Unsullied, you'll be like, I sim this, it's like okay, it's like barely better, I don't know. Well, you're gonna be swapping up gear in other places. So if you need the hit because you've upgraded somewhere else with some big awesome piece in Ulduar and you've lost that hit, now this becomes way, way better than Unsullied. So just play it by ear with what drops for your guild, and then don't sleep on this item. These are huge for any caster. And again, let the guildies use notes, or if you guys are trying to let your loot council know, hey, I'm able to use this because I got this other piece that you guys gave me. I need to combo this. Now I'll have the hit. Let them know. Hand Wraps of Plentiful Recovery, Holy Priest, and then anyone who wants it. Shoulder pads of the Monolith. These are Assassination. They're statted well for them. But in The Sims, this was really, really strong for Feral as well. So very interesting. If combat, if any of these people want it, any leatherware wants it, it's not their biz, but it's really strong actually. And if they're not going to use tier, it's pretty good. So consider that. The Leggings of the Stoneweaver, BOE, Resto Shaman, and then Vendor. Not Vendor, but AH spec. Decimator's Arm Guards. Let's see here. Hit Armor Pen. That's a rough situation. Almost all of the Armor Pen plate specs are usually capped on hit pretty easily, but they could run into a situation where they need this hit, and then it's an okay piece. But generally speaking, this is going to be a very rare filler piece for Frosty K's and Fury Warriors. And other than that, they have other options that are better, that are pretty easy to get. Unfaltering Arm Guards, Holy Pally only. Gloves of the Pythonic Guardian, Holy Pally only. Serenite Plated Leg Guards, Blood Decay, any tank. Necklace of an Erring Metal, Prot Warrior, Prot Paladin, Wrathstone. So everyone's always looking at these crazy BIS lists again with all the Algalon loot from 25 and 10 man, and they think, oh yeah, Comet's Trail and Dark Matter, and that's what I'm going for, or maybe Mjolnir Runestone, which is much easier to get. But Wrathstone is actually really good. We did the Sims on this for all of the Fizz DPS. Only Unholy was it really not good for. Everyone else, it was actually quite good. So this is kind of a sleeper item. People see the trinket that's not BIS and they think nothing of it because there are all these other options, but it's actually really, really strong. So it would be a huge upgrade for virtually any Fizz DPS other than Unholy Death Knight. Iron Mender. Now, depending on your luck, you can choose to give this to your demo right away, or you can wait and try to get them the Flame Leviathan manual, and it's a hit spirit option. This should probably go to your healers, and if you want to give it to your demo, you can give it to demo first, then healers. That is, I think, the best way to go about this. The healers don't have other options. This is it. That's not good. Malice. So, interesting thing with this sword. You have a one-handed 2.5 speed sword. So you would, back in the day, everyone always thought combat rogue sword spec was the way. Then it got nerfed a little bit in Wrath, and people just gave up on it, and that's the way. I think with this and Remorse, we did some Sims. Even though it's not BIS requires hard modes and things like that. So if you're not there, and you're not going to be there for a while, actually, sword spec rogue, combat rogue, with this and Remorse is simming very well. It's an option. It's actually, no one is considering it, but hey, I mean, these are not hugely sought after items, so why not utilize them in a good way? And a combat rogue could pump with these. Now, that being said, if the combat rogue has better stuff, or they don't want to go this spec, this is good for Frosty K. So also consider Frosty K. Giant's Bane is, I would give to Combat Rogue, then Fury Warrior, then anyone, then maybe Assassination after that. All right, Algalon. Now, again, we've discussed less than 1% of players are seeing most of this loot. Some of this is shared loot, right? Like 5 of the weapons are shared between the Keepers and Iron Council. Those are easier than Algalon, but even those are seeing a very, very small percentage of people killing them and getting this gear. So eventually many people will get to the Keeper hard modes, get that gear, and some of these things will become available to a lot of guilds. But for now, what we're talking about is way down the line for most people. But let's just discuss it anyways, and kind of we can think long-term, big picture, but stay humbled with the reality of the situation for 99% of players. Pharaoh's gloves, these are Bis for all the casters, but not Demo. It's Demo Bis if you're playing for yourself, one-man show. But that's not the point of Demo. Demo gets funneled crazy gear, and they get funneled the Vigilant gloves off of Vezek's hard mode because that gives the raid more damage than this would give if they did more damage. This would be a nerf to the raid if you gave this to Demo instead of somebody else like Mage or Shadow Priest or Aflock. So I would consider Mage first, because we're going to probably most guilds are probably going to give Aflock a lot of big love with a lot of big items, and this is somewhere where you can give Mage the stats they really need, other than it's missing hit, but they're not gonna complain getting this, okay? So I would consider Mages first. However, if your guild is different and the Mages are getting tons of stuff and the Aflocks have been very unlucky, which RNG is RNG, you can change that up, and that would be perfectly reasonable. Star Watcher's Binding, I go Shadow Priest after Demo. So Demo needs this first, and then after you give it to your Demo, I would go with Shadow Priest, because they're not getting a lot of love in a lot of places, and this is really, really actually, for percent gain compared to others, they get a lot out of this item. So consider them. They're also probably helping carry you if you get the kill on this. They play an integral role, so that's one way to reward them. Solar Bindings. So this is an interesting one. Now, a lot of pieces from Algalon are going to stay Bis until ICC, so that does put a lot of strange weight on some of these items for some people, because when you get this upgrade, many of these upgrades, you keep them for months and months and months, multiple phases. That's kind of crazy. It's cool. It's an interesting aspect. You don't want it to happen to every slot, but it's cool to have a couple slots where, wow, this piece is going to last me for a while. It feels very neat. So Solar Bindings, I would go towards Assassination because of the expertise. They would get the most out of this. Now, the other reason that I would say this for them over, say, Combat Rogue or Feral is Combat Rogue and Feral's second best option, which is very easily accessible from 10-man, is barely worse than this. Meanwhile, it's way worse for Assassination. So this, for amount of gain, Assassination the most, and there are some other off armor type classes that would go for it, but you should always try to go for the armor type that something is, so you don't waste items. Starbeated Clutch, I would go Resto and Boomkin. I would go equal here. It just depends on who's been getting love, who hasn't. It's amazing for both. Amazing for both. Boundless Gaze. I would go Enhanced Shaman with this over Hunter. We're going to give Hunters lots of Prio and lots of hard mode loot. This is the off piece for an Enhanced Shaman. They'll get the other 4-piece. Their 4-piece is incredible. They'll probably use it till ICC. It's that incredible, if people are wondering. And then their off piece is this, and it's perfectly itemized for them. Now, Hunters, again, it's itemized very well for them, but that's a ton of hit. And in their BIS setup, it's their BIS because there's so many other stats, and the hit is wasted. So why would you give it to them over someone who's going to use every stat? And then also, like we said, you're going to give Hunters awesome Prio in lots of places. So I would go Enhance with this, unless for some reason your Enhance is loaded on gear and the Hunters have been just super messed over with RNG. Planewalker Treads. This is Resto Shaman, and it's actually really good for Ellie, even though it's got MP5. It's not bad for them. They can put in, they got 2 gem sockets, crit, spell power. Yeah. Leg Plates of the Endless Void, tank item, Sabatons of Lifeless Night. Wow. Unholy DK item, really big for them. And then it's really good for Ret. And then it's still going to be it's even really good for, the others, Frost and Warrior. But the thing is, Frost and Warrior's second option from the past phase is pretty damn good still. So it will be kind of troll to give them this over those others, because their second bis options are far, far behind this. So go with those two, Unholy and Ret, before the others. And that's probably your best bet. Unless, for some reason, they don't have Melancholy, your Frost and Warriors. Then, it's all up in the air and you can decide. But I would still go with Unholy first, just because of the stat. Commerce Trail. Enhanced Shaman Assassination Rogue. This used to be the Unholy Mega Bis, and it would have been probably them near the top, but things have changed. And now, even though it's still technically their bis, their second bis is so close, you would be trolling your guild and raid to give it to them first over the others whose second options are far, far worse. The only reason you do that is if, for some reason, they deserve the minor upgrade over everyone else's major upgrade, which I don't know what scenario how that would play out, but possibly. So maybe. But that's how that should probably go. Enhance and Assassination first, and then you can figure out everyone else after. Star Shard Edge. So Demo Lock first. Then who are you giving one-handers to with offhands? Who are you giving two-handers to? Two-handers, we're going to go with Hodier to Mages. It's statted really well for them. We're probably going to go this to your Demo and then Avlocks. And you're going to get huge value out of that. And this drops off Mimiron as well. So if you're not killing Algalon, you still have a chance at this item. Fang of Oblivion, we went over this in Iron Council. Again, if you're not killing Algalon, you could get this off of that fight. Constellus drops off Hodier as well as this. I'm going to throw a wrench in this. I would say Boomkin. I would give this to your Boomkin first. They don't get a lot of big prio and contested items. Unless in your last phase you were giving Torch of Holy Fire to Boomkins first or something. You can change things around based on what you did last phase and cycle these things. You've got your Disc Priest, you've got your Shadow Priest, you got your Boomkin, you got your Ellie, Resto, Shamans. You got all these things that, depending what you're doing with Valinir, but Disc can't go for that, so they need this too. But they have a great option in 10-man. They're basically vying for the same things as Shadow Priests, Ellie Shamans, and Boomkins. You could go off what you did last time and reverse it, so you're more fair. For us, Boomkins got really unlucky last phase, and I love the Boomkins. Anyone who watches the videos or know anything about my guild, they joke that I collect Boomkins like Pokemon because I'm a huge believer in them. So Boomkin players know that I love you. All right, so yes, I would go with them first on this, and then after that, most deserving, maybe Disc after that. Dream Binder. This drops off of Freya as well, and this is Feral Bis by a mile. It should go to them over anyone else. They get more out of the way AP works. We go over this in other videos. They triple dip out of AP on weapons. No contest. Them and then Hunters. Bulwark of Algalon. Prop Pally, you'll have one in this most likely. Or Prop Warrior also could be great for either. Nothing much to say there. Skyforge Crossbow. The Hunter that deserves it. It's their Mega Bis. It also drops off Thorum. This one, for some reason, only drops off Algalon. I guess it's called him, so they kept the theme. They said only Algalon could drop it. So there you go. Cosmos. Demo Lock first. No Spirit, I know, but they gotta reach the hit rating. This is the ultimate setup. They've done a million things in the lock Discord to try to figure out the best way to do this stuff. This is the off piece that doesn't have spirit to get them to hit cap. And I would go with them, and then after that, whoever you want, really. It's a great piece to fill in where people were unlucky that are using one-handers, obviously. Reply Code Alpha, Drape of the Skyborn. It's Unholy Megabyss. Don't give it to them. Don't give it to them. They have a 10-man option that's really close. We Mega Troll. Don't do that. They have a 10-man option, and also we're going to go over these other items, and it'll make more sense. Sun Glimmer Cloak. You can decide to give this Reply Code Alpha to your demo first. So one more thing, let me just backtrack for a second. You get this item guaranteed off Algalon when you kill him. You get one of these pieces from it. So if you're killing Algalon, you're going to get this every week. But again, 99% of people aren't doing this yet. It'll be a while. So that being said, you get this. You could give your first one to your demo lock. And that's a great way to do it. And that's completely fine. And then you've got brand signet rings. So this weird piece where the rings are generally, you have a lot of options, Fizz DPS. And this isn't really a massive upgrade for any of the Fizz DPS. It's a good upgrade. It's a solid upgrade. But they have lots of options close to it. However, the one weird kind of thing to throw into the mix is none of them are going to replace this for 2 phases when they get it. So it's kind of a feels good item for Fizz DPS. When you get this, you know that you got that slot on lockdown with your Megabyss for a long time, right? Until ICC. And that's not just till ICC launches, till you get an upgrade from ICC. So it's longer than what you might think mentally. Oh, I get to ICC, now I've upgraded it. No, you have to also get the next thing to drop and get that. So it's going to be an upgrade for a long time. Even if it's not that crazy or other things, the efficiency argument is pretty good to give this to a Fizz DPS, and it's really just a great reward. It's a good feel to get something that lasts so long. So I would not min-max the armor pen to whatever spec gets the most out of armor pen. I would say, who needs love? It's a Fizz DPS. Here's your upgrade for a long time. And this does not apply to Unholy Death Knights. Their rings are different. Starshine Circle. This is also like Brand Signet Ring. So it's Healer Megabyss, but they have options that aren't crazy behind, but they're significantly, and they would use this till ICC upgrades. So maybe you start mixing this in after a few of these. You get a handful of these out and you throw one of these to a healer, because, you know, the healers are doing a very big job in your raid and they need love. So if you're killing Algalon, you're probably able to kill him every week. And so you'll get a guaranteed one of these every week. And so it's not a crazy thing to be able to start just swapping this around and sharing the love where needed. And lastly, Auriaya. Cloak of the Makers, second best tank cloak behind the Titan Skin one off Memron hard mode. So this will probably last your tanks for a little bit. It's really great. Nothing more to say about that. Cal of the Absolute BOE, no sockets. I don't know why they still did that in this phase. They're trying to save people money with meta gems, right? That was really nice of them, I have to say. Sandals of the Ancient Keeper, Disc Priest. Yeah. Great. These are great for Disc Priest. Unwavering Stare. So you go with your Resto Shaman, but it really depends where they are with tier, right? They want their tier, and this could be the off piece. This is probably not going to be useful for many, depending on where you are with what's dropped. It might be useful for a little bit, but that's about it. Gloves of the Stone Reaper. Combat Rogue will probably be able to use this as a direct upgrade from a droid. And then after that, Feral, if they need the hint, also direct upgrade from a droid. And then after that, I don't see a lot of use for this for anyone else because of the massive amount of hit with armor pen. MS of the Stoic Watch, Resto Shaman. Shoulder Plates of the Eternal. These are pretty good for Rep Paladin and Unholy DK, so consider either. Unbreakable Chest Guard, tanks. Greaves the Rockmaster, Holy Paladin, Platinum Band of the Aesir, tanks. A Ring of the Faithful Servant. Healer Ring, again, low int. They stacked stam on some of these things. Very interesting. So that's a negative for all the healers, really, especially Paladin, want lots of int, and Holy Priest. But there are only so many options. So this will be an upgrade for healers, but it's not going to be crazy. So just share the love where it's needed. Libram of the Resolute, Holy Paladin, Runescribe Blade. So if you're not doing hard modes, this is a pretty nice weapon. So you can consider your demo first on this. Even though they are eventually going to replace it, you think about impact, or if you're worried about the efficiency and you think you're close to getting these other hard mode items for them, skip them on it, because they are probably higher prio on the best ones to help the whole raid. And then other than that, there's a couple other things to think about. Are you killing hard mode Hodir or Memoron? And then where do you go with that? So if you are killing Hodir, hard mode, you're trying to get the staff to the mages. So you probably shouldn't give this to the mages. You probably should give this to the Afflux. Again, it's a sword, and it's a direct upgrade from Turning Tide by a considerable margin. It's nothing to scoff at. So maybe look at Afflux in that scenario. Stone Render. This could be used by Unholy, but it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad overall. Unholy could use it, and that's about it. Siren's Cry. This is the second best bow, but there is a gun that's better out of hard mode, and then there's of course the Thorum bow that is the best. So this is pretty good. It's going to be an upgrade over anything from the last phase, so consider Hunters first. Obviously, for everyone else, for the Warriors and Rogues, it is a stat stick, so Hunters first, then them. And that's it for this. So I hope that the Antechamber of Ulduar was helpful. I'll be coming out with more soon. Sorry for the delay. A lot going on right now, and I shall talk to you all very soon when I see you on the next one.